Colorado. And what we are starting is a history of our family, a video history. And Aunt Lucy, who is the matriarch of the family, the oldest living relative, is going to start with the history of the Iadarolas in Italy.
My grandpa used to work for the government. He used to deliver the mail.
Iadarola History. He had a franchise with the post office, and he had a 4-horse carriage, and he used to deliver passengers and the mail from a small town to a city, Providence of Foggia, the town. It's a beautiful town. It's in the valley, and it's all farm. They raise grain, wheat. Oh, it's beautiful during the summer months, during harvest. The most beautiful sight you want to see. But it's a very rich little town. I loved it. When I went back 7 times, and I liked the place.
But people from another town came in and tried to get him out, to take his job or whatever. They wanted to go in business or something. And they burnt his carriage.
After 30 years with the post office, he lost. He bid. They used to bid every year. For 30 years, he received the franchise. This time, he lost it.
And before he killed him, which is the truth, and go to jail, he left Italy and came to America, and he went to South America. His children were still in Italy. Pietra, Monte, Corvino, Provincia de Foggia is where they came from.
So instead of coming to North America, he landed in South America. He stayed there for a while, and his business wasn't so good. He went into the fruit business in South America. Well, he stayed for a while, and then he corresponded with his friend here in North America. He decided to come to North America. When he came here, he bought a little business. It was a grocery business. He continued with this store, selling groceries. After a year or so, he decided to call his children. He made enough money to send for his children. So he called for his oldest son. That was Franciscandani, his name was. Frank Anthony.
Iadarola.
Iadarola.
Who's this?
Right. Frank and my grandfather got together, and they decided to call for the second son. That was Joseph, my father. So he left his family in Europe. He left me and my sister Anne in Europe. My grandfather had 3 boys and 3 girls. So he decided to send for his daughters. So he sent for, first he sent for his oldest daughter. Then he sent for his second and the baby, which was Tony's mother. Now the time came that all his children were here, and his wife was left in Europe. He decided that he had to send for his wife. My grandmother came here and lived with the whole family. Lived together. My grandfather, my grandmother, my mother, my father, and 7 children.
What was your grandfather's name?
Carmine.
My grandfather, Carmine, was a handsome brute. Not exaggerating. He must have been about 6 feet. and husky, rosy cheeks, blue eyes. And he had more ladies coming around looking for him. This is the truth. One woman had an apartment house, I think it was on that street. It was above Norfolk Street. And she said that if he would marry her, he would have the property. And my grandmother said, go ahead, go. Then we'll get a revorce. She didn't know how to say divorce.
Mom was the patriarch of our family.
Yeah.
He was what I would consider our keystone of this family.
Yeah, he was.
Keystone of the family.
Yes, he, above all, gave us all our inspiration. I would say that when I was growing up, I would spend more time with my grandfather than I did with my father. He was a great horseman, and he was a great man with what I considered great insight. If anything, he gave me the idea that nothing was insurmountable if you were willing to work at it. Yeah. And he had a strength about him. I just don't know how to explain it. What I believe more.
He couldn't put. Nobody could put anything over on him.
Nothing. It was something.
I can tell you one time. He was sitting in the back room, looking in the grocery store. He was looking at the front door, and the customers coming in. He saw an old lady. This old lady used to sell papers. She came in, and she was looking at the fruit that was on the
Fruit stand.
It was on a fruit stand near the window.
Mm-hmm.
Remember the fruit stand near the
Yes.
window? She took a bunch of grapes and stuck it in her pocket. My grandfather came out and says, what do you got in your pocket there? She says, nothing. So my grandfather pulled the grapes out of his pocket. Oh, he says, excuse me, Mr. Iadarola. I said, I was going to bring them over to your son, and I was going to pay for it. I said, not in your pocket, my grandfather said. I remember that very distinctly. But they couldn't put one over on him. He talked to her nicely, though. He wasn't very hard with her. But, finally she decided, she says, thank you to my grandfather. And I remember very, very clearly. That was one instant.
He lived with us, and my grandmother also, Caroline, her name was. She was my mother's mother, and he was my father's father. Okay? Mm-hmm. And they helped raise us, because my mother used to work in the store, and my father.
He came here, and he started to work in the grocery store with my grandfather. My grandfather says, we'll sell out, and then you can open up a shoe store. My father says, I don't want to go back in the shoe business. He says, I left grocery business. He says, it's all trying to eat. He says, and I make a pretty good living here. So he continued with his grocery business. And after a short while, I guess it was about 2 years, he decided to send for his family. My father did. So he sent for me, my mother, and my sister. And we landed here. I was 5 years old. My sister was 3 years old.
What year was it?
Oh God, 1908.
I think I was 6 months old when we went up to Academy Street, and my father went in business.
Academy Street. In Newark.
Newark, New Jersey. And he started with a little store. They used to call him Sturgell. My father had a nickname. But he worked hard. He
What
used
is store, gentlemen?
a little small store.
The small store?
He used to go to the market in the morning, and before he even got home, with a push cart. But before he got up the hill, like say High Street, all his food, I think there were vegetables, fruits, were sold. He had to go back, get more. Well, he thrived there. He made about 50 barrels of wine each year. Had a lot of help, of course, my grandfather and some other men. And he also made homemade liquor, whiskey, whatever.
This is during the Prohibition.
During Prohibition, yes.
So we have a bootlegging family.
Well, he didn't sell to outsiders. It were mostly customers that used to come in for sandwiches and they drink. Most of them were Lieutenant McGovern and detectives. They used to stand in front of our store with the pie wagon, we used to call it. People got used to it. At first they used to think maybe it was something going on inside, but they were all friends. And this went on for quite a while.
When time came, I didn't care much about the grocery business. It was too long on. I decided to go to night school, and I studied architectural drafting. I left the grocery business when it was time for me to get married. When I got married, I looked for a job. I worked for Western Electric for 5 years until depression came. When depression came, I was laid off. And I decided, well, we have to do something. I have a 4-family home that I built, and I have 3 families, but I live in one of the apartments. Time comes, I couldn't pay my mortgage. I had to give it up because all my tenants couldn't afford to pay me. They lost their job. That was during Depression time. Well, my wife says, "Carm, we have to do something." Well, I said, "Well, we're going to go in the dress business." I said, "Yes, that would be a good idea, but I don't know nothing about dresses." When I lost my job, my wife was looking for a job, so she got a job in the dress factory. The owner was an Italian.
She was a designer, wasn't she, Carmine?
Yes, she was a designer, and she was a forelady. So the
And
man
what was her name? What was her name?
Her name was Eleanor.
Maria and Paul.
She talked to her boss. She said, my husband is an architect, but he can't find work. During that time, there was no work for any, and none of the buildings. There was no building going on, no architectural work was being done. So he says, I got a building in New Egypt, New Jersey. That's a small town in the northern part of New Jersey, close to Fort Dix. It's a farm town. And he had a little factory down there. It was not operating. So he says, "Why don't you go there?" And he says, "We'll go into business together. We buy so many machines, and your wife can run the factory, and you can do the cutting.
Yeah.
I'll send a cutter down there to teach you how to cut." And that's how I learned to cut. And I managed the factory, and my wife ran the operating part of it. And that's how I got started in the dress business. And I continued working at it for 35 years.
And prospered.
And I prospered on that. I did very well. I never went back to architectural drafting. The only time I did it, that drafting was for my own use. 1930, my father decided to go in business in the manufacturing of macaroni. I designed the building for him. It was a beautiful building in East Orange, New Jersey.
They built their own factory, macaroni factory in West Orange. I think it was Ashland Street. He was doing well.
The man that started this was a
To
banker.
recollect what year that
He
was.
come over to my father and says, Mr. Iadarola, I want you to go in business with me.
29 was the crash, wasn't it?
It would be a very good business for the rest of the family. He says he'd employ all your children. My father says, I'm not a macaroni maker. He says, I don't know anything about the business. He says, no, never mind, we get them people that know all about the macaroni business. So they decided, being that he knew this banker very well, he figured he was going to put him into anything that is not legitimate. Well, they went to business. My father invested $75,000 at the beginning, and my uncle Sirocco, Joseph Sirocco, was the other partner. Then they went to look for people,
He lost all the money, didn't he?
that he knew, some in Massachusetts, some around the area, that invested in this. He sold shares. They operated the macaroni factory for about 2 years. It was doing very well. They sold all chain stores. Everything is bulk.
I worked in the office for a while, but there was a lot of, my father, I hate to say he was gullible, but he was very trusting.
So who comes along but La Rosa? Rosa and another company.
Ronzoni.
Ronzoni,
Ronzoni and La Rosa.
La Rosa, yes.
Competitive
They
company.
started cutting prices. So we were a small company at that time, and we had invested an awful lot of money in all the equipment. Everything was imported from Italy. All the big presses were imported from Italy. And we had a lot of expenses. So we started selling the macaroni at $2 a box for 20 pounds. And they came along, they cut the prices down to $1.75 to $1.60. And we could keep up with the pace. So in time, it took about a year that we couldn't keep up. They had to give it up.
Lost a lot of money, most of his capital. In fact, he used to put good after bad, and anyway, it was during the Depression also, so that didn't help.
What was your mother like? And what was her name?
My mother, Antonetta.
I remember when your mother had
She's a
Carmine.
beautiful woman,
Marino.
tall, thin, and she was a very lovable woman. She's a woman that would help anybody that's hurt. She used to act like a nurse. My mother died at the age of 46. She died with cancer of the breast. And my father was a widower for about
18 years.
15 years, right? Then he got remarried.
Now the name of Iadarola, even though it's not a common name, our family, if I'm not mistaken, and I usually am, but in this case, I believe that my grandfather, Carmine Iadarola, okay, had a brother who had 9 children.
Yes, that's right.
9 children.
And some of them are in Milford, Massachusetts. I went to see them.
Yeah, those are the Iadarolas back
Yeah.
in
So
Massachusetts.
there are quite a few Iadarolas that we are related to, but distantly now.
Yeah, of course.
You're on the,
That's only told, that's
see, what
only
happened,
our family
that
came to know
your
it.
father,
Okay.
But the
He went to New
Iadarola.
Jersey.
They all went to
And
Massachusetts.
the other Iadarolas went to
Yeah.
Milford, in
Milford,
Massachusetts.
Mhm.
So, but you were
That's
all
wonderful.
related.
And
My
they
house was
became
related.
I think that the first one, they
the
were
brother
first
of my
cousins.
father,
Mhm.
my
They're
grandfather,
first cousins.
Yes.
Of
had a
course,
farm
family,
in
you would be
Massachusetts,
second
in
cousins,
Milford,
your second or third
Massachusetts.
cousin.
And this, he had about 7 or 8 children. I think about 6 of them boys, right?
Mhm.
And they became engineers, uh, all industrial.
They were all, quite a few of them became professionals, Carmine.
Yeah.
There's one of them in particular up there was quite a builder,
The engineer,
the engineer.
yeah.
And
He became quite a builder. And they had an avenue called Iadarola Avenue in his name. So he was well liked.
also, if you go to the city of Newark, your grandfather, Carmine, owned a home on Academy Street.
Yes.
And when his business got larger, he decided to move to a larger home, business place. And the original home he tore down and built a very large garage, which I would say was in excess of 5,000 square feet.
More than that.
More than that.
And
And
he rented to Pierce Arrow automobiles. They had his first rental was an automobile
manufacturer,
not manufacturer, says
sales,
they sold
Pierce Arrow.
Pierce Arrow. And after a while, when my father lost the macaroni back, he sold it in order to maintain the factory. He tried to solve the factory. So he sold this garage and he sold an apartment house. And that was a big mistake. When he went bankrupt, he just stayed bankrupt because he could never bring it back anymore. Getting the business back. But he still lost more money.
To this day, that garage still stands up.
Yeah, what is the
And
name
there's
Iadarola?
There's a plaque at the front of it that says Iadarola, built 1920.